Chapter 22, 18th day of June, 1680. Malice Defeated, or a brief relation of the accusation and deliverance of Elizabeth Cellier. A long title, but it read well enough, though I might add some words about the book's content. The candles burn low, Lizzie. Come, sit a while with me. At the sound of Pierre's voice, the rats, which were come back after the great fire, stopped their squealing and clawing behind the cupboards in the sitting room, just as my quill nib ceased scratching across the paper in front of me. I looked at the nib. It was not so good I wanted to write with it, so I took my knife and sliced the end back to an arrow point, as I liked it. I will not keep you long, my turtle. I am checking some details that Edward, my scribe, wrote today in my diary. I wish to be sure everything is as I remember. Though one of the longest days of summer had withdrawn most of its yellow light, Pierre had lit the reading lamp, and his silhouette against the lamp's warm glow invited me to finish writing and treat with him. He sucked on his pipe and sent tendrils of smoke to the ceiling, then picked up the open book he had paused in reading from his knees. The dear man was, as always, patient, but he would soon close his eyes and sleep in his chair. Age demanded it of him. He did not straightway return to his book. I grasp the reason you wish for all to know the truth, ma chérie, but I must protest. When they see what you have written, I fear your position will have you murdered or executed. Leave the business behind. It cannot do you, nor those you write of, any good. If you were given it, would you forfeit this task, Pierre? Many a time you have said, without truth, every lie would become real, and would then become the new truth we must live by, and that would not be a world that we would want to live in. Oui, but it is not the same for me. I am a Frenchman. I am foreigner. It's expected to hold foreign beliefs. You are English, and they do not like how it sits on you. It matters not what belief a person lives by. Those that wish to find reason to abuse it will do so. I am wiser now, and that wisdom has brought me closer to God. It has likely also brought me closer to the King. How strange that I stood before him a mere fortnight ago. You were in truth a great success, my Lizzie. All saw how the King treated you with favour. Pierre, am I wrong to speak out? You will, I know, write whatsoever you choose, no matter what I think, will you not? Without waiting for my nod, he continued. So, even if you are taken from me and our children, I must support you in writing it. He could have sounded bitter uttering those words, but rather he sounded defeated. I had no answer, for he was right. Drawing long on his pipe, then he looked at the book in his hand as if his next words should appear not to hold importance, and started to speak again, quiet but clear enough that I could hear every word. I must tell you most strongly, I would prefer that you did not write it. I cannot bear to lose you another time. I was never more lonely in my life than when you were gone before, and when I feared for you each and every day. Good fortune allowed you to escape with your life and come back to me this last time. But you must know, if Dangerfield had not proved such a scoundrel, and he had not bragged so loudly of his wrongdoings, you would not have made such a convincing defence. If you publish this book of yours, you will fall into the hands of all those you speak out against, and they will certainly take you from us. I may as yet be a widow for it. He paused and thought. I should forbid you to do it. I did not remember him making such a speech before. Do you regret marrying me? I asked. Never. I will never regret that. Pierre said this with more passion than I had ever expected. I love you so my old heart works might easily stop from drumming so hard whenever you are nearby. And though you are a strong woman, of their own volition, my arms yearn to enfold you and keep you safe from harm. I bathe in your charm and bask in the heat of your wit every day, and each and every time I look upon our children, I see you. With sincerest truth, you are my life, Lizzie, and if I did not support what you do, I would only be a thorn in your foot. Thank you, Pierre. Merci. Your words mean everything to me. You are so good. Your respect fills me to the brim with strength to speak out and say what I must, though the consequences might be dire. You know I have to tell the truth, else nothing will change and the torture will continue. What use am I to the Lord then? Pierre put his book down and turned his old eyes on me. But I swear I never saw a man more determined nor more fearful that I nearly threw down my pen and burned my book right there. I could not stand to see the tears in his eyes, as if I had already died. You are brave, but dare not think you will dodge the three-legged mare at Tyburn only because you are a woman. You have seen with your own eyes how they would hang a woman as a man. 'Tis near a year that the 5 Jesuits swung high, and they did nothing to warrant such end. You are in this time most famous, more famous than they were in theirs. You are written about in broadsheets all over London and beyond, and your effigy was burned too gleefully by the procession. There are many that would take delight in hanging you from the gallows for faith alone, but if that were not all, they would take exception that you are a strong woman with superior wit, and their wives and lovers would have them set you dangling your feet dance, set your dangling feet dance in time to their music. It will not be so bad as that, my turtle, I said, trying to untighten the knot inside me. I have made myself competent in the law. They would have to prove I wrote the book for them to indict me for it. I will be sure to deny them that proof. But you will have your name on it. Is that not unlawful enough? Yes, love, but do you not see how often are the broadsides in the coffee houses satires written by others than it says in the title? No person can be sure who are the authors, but must suppose the names are nonsensical and false. Your name is not nonsensical and false. You are overly known to too many. Pierre was not often wry, but he was well aware of my reputation around the city. There were those who respected me and those who did not. I gazed down at my words and remembered the Atterbury woman and her husband punching and kicking me. Pierre's clothes whispered as he stood, put his book on the warmth of his seat, and came over from the fireplace to place a shrunken hands on my shoulders. I took my eyes up from the ink I had so recently blotted, barely visible now in the midsummer twilight, and tipped my head over to rest my cheek on his bony fingers. Over my shoulder I caught sight of the greying town outside the window. Though the day had been hot, the window was closed to the smell of the street that was always there, winter or summer. The stink was worse now in the summer. Waste sat on the roads, unwashed by the rain. In that waste, a rat or two would be racing from gutter to fallen cabbage stalk, while inside bluebottle flies buzzed ceaselessly against the windows, trying to get back to their egg-laying. Not much else went on in the streets at this late hour. Most horses were stabled and few carts trundled past. Even those persons that had filled public houses until late had finished making drunken noises as they found their way home. Only the occasional footsteps of a man going about some late-night business that maybe he had no business going about hurried past. I could barely see the roofs of the buildings opposite, dirty from the soot of 15 years and 1,000 burning winter fires. I did not need to see them to know that know from the many times I returned home at dusk that the bottom of the walls were painted by the dried-on slurry of mud and dung splattered up by carts on many wet London days. My eyes might be on the world outside the window, but my thoughts were on my husband's body touching the back of my head. The memory of him punching Dangerfield onto the ground would forever chase away thoughts of him being old. He was more my hero than any romantic highwayman could ever be. He had saved me often as every day, and made me a respected woman. His hands pulled me closer still. My Lizzie, you have been busy, I see. I knew he referred to the sack of papers on the writing table. Would you rather I was busy with you, my turtle? I'm finished here for tonight. There was a smile in his voice as he said, There is nothing I would like better. His hands left my shoulders and slipped around them until his arms crossed in front of my chest and pulled me against him. Maggie found a beetle this morning, I said. The conversation came slow and with long pauses, as I leaned my head against his belly and we soaked in the moment of warmth and companionship, and his hands caressed my bodice. She carried it around with her all day. For what purpose? That was always a relevant question where Maggie was concerned. Sometimes her curiosity brought her to simply watch. Other times she would physically examine those living things in such a way it was not good for them. To race it, I believe. She said it will win against all of the others she has collected. She keeps them in the pearl box wherein she keeps her other special possessions. I allowed a smile to wipe the weariness of the day from my face. Our little girl, now 5, took her younger brother, Peter, into all sorts of mischief. It pleased me when Pierre told me that they took after me. It appears she had an interesting day. And what did the day bring you? Pierre's hand stilled, and his arms tightened around me. Mrs. Bell had her 8th brat without any hardship. I did not take payment. I did so little. Did you take time to visit the Palace of Horrors? That was what Pierre oftentimes called Newgate. Yes, they're always glad of some relief from hunger. Mary tells me that they are ever in my debt for the air I bring them from outside. 'Tis the same air, is it not? Not for those inside the cages. I speak not only of the sweet scent of free air, concealed beneath my cloak. I bring wind of the goings-on around the town, a thing they are agog to hear. I remembered how, if I placed the desire of news of my family on the trials and other events into balance, they would so often outweigh my physical deterioration and worsening health. It would be prudent for you to stay away from there for a while. Your bond with the place is too strong and should be loosened. I grasp the needs of those inside better than most and will not desert them now. You are a good woman, Lizzie. Those who say otherwise cannot know your heart as I do. And you are a good man, Pierre. Without you to stand by me, I would have faltered in my resolve many times. If I was more of a husband, I would not let you be so foolhardy and throw yourself into trouble as you do. That is not so, Pierre. You know what I do is right. You said it yourself. It is only the punishment for it that is wrong. It is true. Would that a person could speak truth without punishment. Then I would not be against doing so at all. But the truth is not wanted here in this city, nor in this kingdom, this bed of charms. Rather, they would believe lies only keep company in different religions and different countries. The unspeakable terror of the scream that came from the poor man Prance even now pierced my night dreams, and would wake me, so that Pierre must hold me until I stopped shaking, proving false the common held belief that torture was long banished from our shores. But as I have oft said, and you have agreed, if none will tell the truth, the lie will thrive and live in all places, from the street to the castle. It may be that no person believes my story, but if I do not tell it, then the truth will hide silent in the darkness. It takes only one to change what passes. I know, but why must that one be you? Will you not leave it to some other that leaves no widower and orphans desolate? Sincerely, my love, I fear that myself, but should I allow fear to sway me from my course? Should I turn my face from those bodily suffering, even as I speak, and every day, for the sakes of my children and my husband, who would suffer only in the heart? They will die in jail of starvation and will never see their loved ones again. And while they die, their bodies are mutilated by the weight of irons that bind their legs and wrists and damage them wholly, completely, and without respite. We have every comfort. We want for nothing. Our religion prevents us from doing nothing to help them. We must aid them in every way we can, even if we achieve only our own death. I would liefe it was another's death. Is there none other that could take up your fight? Knowing how fickle people are, Pierre, you ask this of me? We have been betrayed by too many to trust another. You know this, yet you can quiz me so. I pulled from his close arms and he released me, so I could stand and face him. Every time we had this argument and he did not uphold me fully, it was as if I stood alone. Will you stand by me, Pierre? I said. Will you do more than allow me speak out, but also stand proud beside me when I do it? I must know your heart beats together with mine. My husband turned from me and I immediately missed his loving eyes, but it told me what I wished to know. Though he would not stop me, he would never approve of what I did. You know I am all for speaking the truth, my love, but you place words on paper, the proof of which will not disappear into the air the moment the words are spoken. This book you write will hold you accountable to any who hold it. Your words hold fast to your name on the cover. They cannot slip away and hide once you have inked them to paper. Your words are outlawed in this land. You know that. The court can and will clasp those words in their hands and make you pay for them with your life. Mark well the wisdom of my words, though they not be ink. If the truth is only the spoken word, it may always hide in the air, I countered. Words may be passed as rumours from one place to the next by those who capture them, but they will never be given substance. Tittle-tattle may be enjoyed and passed on, and may even be believed, but no one will be prepared to act on it, for it disappears the moment it is in another person's ears. Pierre, still turned from me, said, You have said this to me ere now, and may say so again, and again I say, I would lief it was not you that plucked the words from the air and put them on paper. I am not plucking the words from the air, I said, as the images I wrote of filled my head. Pierre turned back and grabbed me hard by the shoulders, the old man's hands still strong and his eyes unexpectedly damp. I know, Lizzie, I know, but I cannot bear to imagine you back in that dreadful place. If I could only have taken the cell in your stead, I would gladly have done so. 'Tis my fault you had to be in that dreadful place at all, let alone so long, and I cannot stand to let you be taken there again without a fight. Why do you take blame on yourself? I asked, not pulling from the strong hands that dug into the tops of my arms. You played no part in any of it. I played myself there by my own foolish trust in the man who was not worthy of it, though it was God's will that I did so. His fingers clenched and bruised me, but I would not take so much. I would take so much more than bruises from this man who had nursed me from death. We were both taken in by that fox, but I knew you were becoming involved with my Lady Paris and her husband, though I knew them unsafe. Their reputation as meddling Catholics is known by all. But if they want to draw eyes to themselves and die for it, that is their choice. They should play a quieter part than you. They should play a quieter part as I do. They should never have drawn you into their web. You're a good woman, and they play on that. It was my place to stop you. That you did try, Pierre. Do you not remember? Not for the first time. I was saddened by Pierre's worsening memory. You warned me, and I heeded your warnings. I am ever grateful to hide how close Lord and Lady Paris are to me. You are wrong to think they played me. They are good people, and only try to defend their own lives. I searched Pierre's face for understanding. I would have him laud my effort rather than condemn them. If I did not have solid foundation to build my confidence at home, then how fast would the walls of my confrontation with the guilty ones crumble? I continued talking, trying to reach him. I would never have known the darkness of prison that no one sees or cares about. There are some in there whose only crime is their debt, and yet they are treated as the worst murderers. Someone must speak for them. There are Catholics in there that have done nothing but pray in the wrong fashion. They have not seen their wives or husbands for many months and are tortured into naming others. Who will speak for them? I paused for breath. The tears in Pierre's eyes hung full beneath the lids, but he did not shed them. I did not know if to stay silent, my words being too much, or finish my thoughts. It seemed that now I had begun, I could not stop myself telling him what I had told him time and again. The keepers have no respect for life. Look at poor Mary White. She lost her child at birth before those monsters shackled her ankles and wrists in those wicked bilboes. And though she was big with child and they stapled her to the floor without respite. Who will speak out for Mary and her poor lost soul? May she rest in peace. Who? If you had stopped me before, I would not have known so much of this, and I would not be positioned to do something now. Pierre knew the truth of this, though he would rather not. He knew that the Almighty God had shown me this path, so I might do something for those miserable folks and many others. He did not speak, but wrapped his arms firmly around me once more and pulled me close to him, so that my healed ribs protested. His breathing was deep and ragged, and I knew better than to speak further. Knowing the truth and living with it were two very different things. To do what I had to do, and for him to allow me to, we must draw strength from each other. I held him tight as he held me, imagining my resolve strengthening his backbone, even whilst I took courage from his love. What fortune to find such a decent man so late in my life. In 11 years of marriage I had never doubted him. I trusted him implicitly with every detail of my life. My good husband would stand by me no matter how much he desired I did not do what I must do. We did not speak more on my book, and the consequence of writing it, but went to our bed and took each other as if the law would take me away that very next morning.